Shalom, my friends, from here in Israel. I'm just on my way back from work, but I've been getting so many questions from people around the world. What is the fellowship doing for Christians in the Middle East? And it's a great question because I've been calling you to pray for persecuted Christians in the Middle East, from Boko Haram to across Africa, and now in Syria. In the past week alone, we've seen over 360 Christians murdered in Syria. And the mainstream media isn't reporting this. So we have to raise our voice. We have to educate others. We have to be their voice and speak for them because no one else is doing it. And so first and foremost, I want to remind you to pray for the persecuted Christians in Syria right now who are terrified, and across the Middle East, pastors who are getting their throats slit, churches that are being burnt down. Jews and Christians need to stand together because, as the terrorists say, first they go for the Saturday people, the Jews, and then they go for the Sunday people, the Christians. And we are seeing that happen. In Israel, we had October 7th, where there were hundreds of people taken hostage, many of them still being held right now in the dungeons of Gaza, where there were over 1,200 people murdered in one day, men, women, and children. And we're seeing that now with Christians across the Middle East. So the first thing is to pray. But we have to pray, and we have to also act. And so this is what the fellowship is doing. The fellowship has been helping Christians who have made it to Jordan, who were affected and abused and terrorized by ISIS. The fellowship was there for them. As they got to Jordan, we provided food and different aid. Inside of Israel, it's the only place in the Middle East where you actually have a growing Christian population. And inside of Israel, the fellowship actually helped build a hospital in Nazareth, which serves the Christian population. This past Christmas, the fellowship was there to distribute food boxes. In Israel, the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews stands with every single one of the populations in Israel, including the Christians. And so in Israel, what we say is we are so happy that this is a growing population, that these native Christians to the land still live in Israel, still pray and practice their faith and freedom. You still have churches across Israel, from Jerusalem to Nazareth to Tiberias to the Golan Heights. And that is something that Israel as a nation is so proud of. And the fact that we're the only country in the Middle East that has a growing Christian population, I think says everything. But now the Christians in Syria need us. And so I want you to know the fellowship is working around the clock, actually just since yesterday when we became aware of this horrible situation and this ongoing threat towards them. We've been working around the clock to find a way to bring aid inside of Syria to the Christian community there. We want to stand with them, not just in prayers, but in practice. And we're not going to start a fundraising campaign until we have a direct and very effective and reliable way to get that aid inside of Syria to the Christian community. The fellowship has never operated in Syria before. But just yesterday, we started looking into it. We have a few ways that we might be able to do that. And as soon as we do, I'll definitely let you know. But for now, you can know that the fellowship is standing with Jews, of course, in Israel and across the former Soviet Union, saving Jewish lives, being part of biblical prophecy coming to fruition, feeding the hungry, clothing the naked, sheltering the poor. During last year of war, the fellowship distributed over 3 million meals from our soup kitchens only in Israel. Almost every day we have new olim, new immigrants landing in Israel from all four corners of the earth, the ingathering of the nations. And so this is biblical. If you study the Bible and if you're studying God's word, then you're part of this community of people who are united in God's word and able to take action to not only study the words, but to bring it to fruition. And now that the Christians in Syria need our help, we are looking for every avenue to be able to help them immediately. So I hope to come back to you in the next day or two with the exciting news. We found a way to get the Christians in Syria aid, and the fellowship is going to do it now. But for now, until we have that direct path to get them the aid, continue to pray, continue to think about them, continue to hold them in your prayers, and continue to spread the message. Christians across the Middle East are being persecuted, and we need the world to know. I believe God calls us to be the watchmen on the walls. He calls us to pray to that guardian of Israel who neither slumbers nor sleeps. And he calls us, how good and pleasant it is when brethren dwell together in peace. And that is what we are doing. So, shalom from here in Israel.